Well, good morning, everyone. I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and welcome to Somewhat Daily Tarot and Rune for the 10th day of July 2019. I almost said June. Anyhow, here we are on a Wednesday. It's a Mercury day with Mercury in retrograde, so, take it easy on yourself. Don't sign any contracts. Don't buy any electronics. If things go weird, just sort of, watch it happen. Stop what you can. Well, in any event, I did get the Scorpio moon posted yesterday. So that's up on the blog if you want to check that out over at imsteppingaside.com. And lately I've been skipping Scorpio. I'm not too sure why. It seems like I'll every so often I just won't do one, and it typically is Scorpio, that or Virgo. Virgo's another one I tend to skip. Probably because my boys are Virgo and Scorpio. Maybe that's what it is. Little avoidance there. I also did one to as sort of an advertisement for Amazon's Prime Days. If you're a Prime member, and if you're not, then join. You can take advantage of that. That's going to be on the 15th and 16th. It's going to be 2 days this year. That's always fun. It's kind of like Amazon's answer to Black Friday, I think, or Cyber Monday, maybe. I don't know. I guess there's supposed to be a Taylor Swift concert on today for Prime members. So if you're into shopping and you like to shop at Amazon, and even if you've never really done it, I publish all my books over there. So it's going to be a fun day, I think. I guess they've got sales on right now, too. So it's not just going to be on the 15th and 16th. So if you're interested in that, check that out over there. And I wanted to just look back at what we did yesterday. We had, let's see if I can read my writing. We had the Magician, we had the Ace of Cups, we had the Ten of Pentacles, we had Rubius, which is, typically considered, maybe evil, or negative at the very least. But at the very least, it can be considered passionate energy. And so, we kind of looked at that as the impetus for change, maybe, to sort of reevaluate things and use the Magician within to maybe create a different alchemy in our lives, one that flows a little better, one that's more about emotional fulfillment. The Ten of Pentacles was there also, and I suspect that it's about coming together for the purpose of legacy and shared purpose, but it sort of showed a transition. So maybe you're getting an inheritance. Could signal that. So, but inheritance doesn't just simply be about money. It can be about knowledge, the transfer of knowledge. If you have a grandparent or something that has these wonderful skills, and maybe they're a craftsman or something. Maybe your grandfather's a craftsman, or your grandmother's a craftsman of some kind. And so maybe they pass that along to you, some kind of craft or skill. We'll see if we keep that going today. But it's about a different type of energy exchange, isn't it? It's not one that's based on the isms or the separation that's perceived between everyone. The us versus them experience. That's not where the cards have been going of late. Of late, they've been heading in the direction again of unified consciousness and shared purpose. Sort of dropping the armaments that we use to keep everybody away. aligning the shadow side with the spirit side. Well, if this is your first time here, welcome. I appreciate you stopping by. Click subscribe. I'd love you to do that. And if you're back, thank you so much for coming back as we explore tarot and runes together, how they can impact our lives, maybe foster some change and awareness, things we never thought about before, maybe. Let's get started. We'll draw our first card. 11, 12, 13, and I take the 13th card each time, and I'll draw either 3 or 4 cards. Well, we're going to begin again like we did yesterday. Oh, we did it on Monday too, with a card from the Major Arcana. Mondays was the Chariot, and then Tuesdays was the Magician. Today is the Lovers. So again, balance, balanced exchange, both on the horizontal plane and the vertical plane. We see 2 people, nude, suggesting purity. You can think Adam and Eve. You can think Lilith and Cain. You see the angel Gabriel above and the sun shining down, radiating everywhere. Behind the man, you see an oak tree. Behind the woman, you see an apple tree with the snake, the serpent of knowledge. You know, people think that that's a weakness, that the snake chose the weaker of the 2. No, the serpent of knowledge chose the stronger of the 2. The serpent knew that the man was not going to have the integrity that the woman would have, that the woman was going to bear the species, basically. And the woman would be the one to teach the children. Patriarchy has it backwards. Patriarchy decided that the woman was the devil, basically. She was the succubus. She was Lilith. She was the one who couldn't be trusted. But in fact, it was the other way around, wasn't it? As the 6th card of the Major Arcana, you're talking about higher self-influences here. You're talking about a greater awareness of the other in your life, the other side of self. Here, it's sort of, you know, we're talking about polarity. We're not just talking polarity on the horizontal plane between masculine and feminine energies. We're also talking about polarity, as above, so below type of polarity. So spirit versus form, or spirit versus ego. Let's draw another card. But basically, you're talking about harmony and balance and love. That type of energy exchange with the Lovers. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Well, we have the Fool. So soul archetype day. Higher self saying hi. Remember me? This is undeveloped potential. You see the sun in the background there, shining forth. You see the rose, the white rose in his left hand, receptive presence, purity. His knapsack is slung over his right shoulder. He's not even looking where he's going. He's just closing his eyes and he's just letting spirit decide, you know. He's about ready to jump off the cliff. The dog is right there by his side. Basically, he's about ready to jump into the abyss, isn't he? Into the unknown. We'll see if we're going to move the Fool first, but right now we'll leave the Lovers first and then the Fool. So, you know, when we come back together in shared purpose with one another, we have complete undeveloped potential, don't we? Anything could happen. Typically positive. Even when we argue about what that shared purpose is, at least we're talking to each other. See, there's the difference. When we stop talking, when we start seeing everyone as the enemy, then the shared purpose goes away and nobody talks to each other anymore. Find a way forward. I've been in lots of situations like that, where, the people involved in the group, they don't really know each other. They don't necessarily like each other, but maybe that's just because they don't know each other very well. But it's not that, but instead of something bringing them together to cause them to know one another well, it's sort of one of those things, well, if it happens, it happens. So it's that kind of, energy in the group. But at the same time, you have a common goal. You're involved in something together. You have to be able to talk to each other. You have to be able to come together in shared purpose, irrespective of your personal feelings. Some of that's some of that is what the Lovers is suggesting too. It's not about same thinking or like thinking necessarily. It can be, but not necessarily. The diversity of thinking, the diversity of opinion is what drives innovation, doesn't it? So it's a good thing. We just have to know when to, lay it all on the table and to make a decision, make a decision on what we're going to do, irrespective of whether or not we like one another in the process. Still got to get things done. Let's do another card. I was out in the garden, so my hands are just, I don't know, they got weird stuff all over them. I was gathering oat seed for because some of it was ready, and I'm going to tincture it today, and then I was gathering some California poppy, and for drying, I'm already tincturing that, and so my hands get really weirdly soft, and then I can't shuffle the cards very well. Well, here we have another 6 energy, the 6 of Pentacles, again, shared abundance. He has the scales of justice in his left hand, his receptive side. And he's giving with his right. He has more than he needs. And again, the 6 energy is about being able to see more than just the self. It's the beginnings of the awareness of more than just you in the equation. And again, you don't have to, we've talked about this before, you don't have to necessarily give money. You could give of your time. The same was true yesterday with the 10 of Pentacles. It could be legacy, it could be inheritance, it could be, maybe you're going to get, some money, or maybe you've inherited a piece of property or something, but something that helps build your wealth and build your financial security. And Pentacles can be about that, can be about financial security. That's what's happening here in this picture. You know what? I think I'm not going to draw another card because I like this feeling of 6, 0, and 6. So you have such potential here with the Lovers and the 6 of Pentacles here to come together in shared purpose and in shared harmony. The Fool is just basically describing the undeveloped potential that can come out of all of that. I'm going to leave that there, and let's go ahead and do a rune. Anytime I get a pattern that's like this, one time I had queens, I had 4 cards, I had queens on either end. That was interesting. I've had times where I've had 4 cards and I've had major cards on either end. And we could do that, but I think I'm going to do it on the 6s here. So that's 12, which reduces to 3, which is mind, body, spirit alignment. It's catalytic presence. Today is the 10th, and so you're looking at a 1 energy, so of new beginnings. So that would pretty much align, with the Fool and undeveloped potential that then manifests into something new. Let's see if we can get 1 to finally end up in my hand here. I've been letting them fall through my fingers, and I can't seem to get 1. There it is. There's the 1. Oh, righto. The 5th rune of the Elder Futhark. We're going to draw a little bit. I know that's scary. But I'm going to show you what the other runes that are comprised in this that create this. The basic comprise the energy behind Rido. Rido is about rider and horse. It's about soul journey. It's about movement. It's about harmonious movement with someone else, so harmonious working conditions. Again, it does align well with both the Lovers and the Six of Pentacles. But I'll show you. First, I'll draw Rido out. Being the fifth rune of the Elder Futhark, you're looking at change. So this is Rido. But I'm going to show you what we also have. We have Laguz, which is flow. We have Vunyo, which is joy and fellowship, harmony, peace, love. We have Kenaz, or the torch, the rune of openings, spiritual awareness, light of spirit. So right away, I mean, with the presence of Kenaz alone, you know, you're looking at a very spiritual type of energy here with Rido. Again, the journey, we can put that right with the Fool card if you want to, because the Fool's journey, basically, you know, is what we're talking about here. Understanding the rhythm of life, the as above, so below, horizontal plane, vertical plane type of balance that we need to, in fact, strike. It's not simply about balanced, you know, masculine and feminine polarities. It's about the true balance has to do more with spirit and ego. We're doing pretty good on time here. Let's do a geomancy rune, though. And if you've never seen that, if it's your first time here, check out the blog, though, at Stepping Aside at imsteppingaside.com, because once a month I do a geomancy reading for the month. I also do a tarot reading for the month. And you'll see how this works. I mean, basically, you're creating 4 glyphs, and then from there, the rest of the shield chart is created. And it looks like this, ultimately, and it's read from right to left. So you can see the numbers up at the top, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So there's going to be 15 spots here. And so I do it based on weekly, with the bottom 3 being the overall type of information. But anyhow, it's an older divination method, sort of an earth type, considering it's called geomancy. Other kinds of geomancy would be like water witching and pendulum work and things like that. That's another form of geomancy. But this was one that Agrippa used to use, and different folks used to use it back in the day, mostly guys. They're not quite as, I don't know, it's like they get skittish or something. Not so with the women. Anyhow, you can do this in a variety of ways. I just chose to make runes, and I have 4 of them. 1 represents fire, 1 earth, 1 water, 1 air. You're going to have a single dot on one side, 2 dots on the other, and then however they fall, and they're put in the order of fire, air, water, and earth, and that's how we'll create the rune for today, geomancy. So let me find fire. Let me get my little magnifying glass. Oh, there went my shield chart. So there's fire. We have a single dot. Air. Where is air? There is air. We have a dual dot for air, a single for water, and a dual for earth. So what are we looking at here? Which one is that? Is it a missio? Oh, yeah. Okay, so loss. A missio has to do with loss, and but it doesn't necessarily mean something negative. This is what it looks like, and I'll spare you my artwork. But that's the glyph, or the rune, or the symbol. Now, the single dots indicate an active presence or influence. The dual is a passive. So here you have kind of have that in balance, but you're still dealing with loss of some kind. And I suspect that it's loss of innocence, if we want to call it that. That's what it feels like. It's not necessarily, because there's nothing negative about this reading. So we're not going to consider it that way. I think that when the Fool takes the journey, the leap into form, I think that there's innocence there. And then once you get here, as you live, as you grow, you start to learn that life is not necessarily as easy as you might think it is. And so there, in a sense, is some lost innocence. The other thing that this can indicate is the loss of a single-minded focus. When you have the Lover's card appear, it's telling you again that you're not alone in this experience, that there's more to this than just you. And so maybe a little lost innocence there, thinking, or naivete, thinking that I'm the only one that matters in this whole thing. It's my journey. I'm not here with anyone else. Well, in fact, you are. So much of our experience here, at least in terms of the players, is planned out. At least I believe it is. It's planned out before we ever incarnate. And so we have a soul group, we have a soul family. And so our parents we choose, and our children we choose, and our friends, maybe, people along the way. All you have to do, and you'll see this, you'll see that maybe this is true. If you don't have an Ancestry.com account or some other Ancestry account, get one and start looking at your Ancestry and look at the names that come up. I've known people with some really, not common names, maybe unusual, maybe not, but not common, like Smith and Jones and all of that. Those are common names, right? Well, some of the other ones that are in my Ancestry are people that I've encountered in my life. And they were unusual names, and it's so odd to see them crop up in Ancestry from the 1200s or the 1500s or what have you. So it begs the question, who are these people? Why the synchronicity? Why the synchronicity between their name and someone I've encountered now? Is it the same energy that's just come forward into this person that's from before? Names are important. So I don't know. It's something to think about, though. But as far as the whole notion of loss of innocence, I think that on this journey, once we realize that we're not, a single person in this whole endeavor, that there's more to this whole collective consciousness that we're a part of, the creator, focusing into form to know more. That's what we all are. Aspects of all of that, little points of creative presence here in form. So I think the loss that Amicio is talking about is the loss of that, is the loss of the awareness of the singleness of that we're all alone in here, the separation. We could not be more separated from one another if we tried. My Ancestry chart is a pretty good example of it, I think. When you start to see, it's like, oh, I'm related. Am I related to those folks? And then you start expanding, and then maybe if they're famous, you go and you find their lineage, and then you start to see familiar names, and you're like, uh-oh. So my family was. I found out that I got the account. I'll just tell you briefly. I got the account because I wanted to find witches in my Ancestry. I knew they were there. I assumed it was on my mother's side. My grandmother was born in Ireland, and she emigrated with some of her family here when I think she was either 16 or 18 when she came to this country, and from Ireland. And she would talk about things that and not really come out and say it, right? But talk about things. And so I thought, well, it must be there. Well, I can't get past her parents. So any of my ancestors or my relatives are out there, and it's me. If you know how to get past that, let me know. I had an aunt that was into Ancestry, and she got quite a ways. And so I'm assuming that she was able to get past all of that. But I couldn't. Where I found it was on my father's side, and there I found the royalty and the Merovingians and all of this stuff, and going back to Adam and King Solomon, and I found all the witches, and I have people on both sides of the equation. So the royalty that burned them, some of them, like Eleanor. There were two different Eleanors of Aquitaine. They were both involved in witchcraft, and they got in trouble a lot. And my 14th great grandmother, though, Lady Janet Douglas of Glamis Castle, she was burned, and she was ordered burned by, I think it was King James the Fourth, who is, I think, an uncle. I think an uncle, maybe a grandfather, but possibly an uncle. He ordered that, and then of course it's either his grandson or great grandson. Anyway, the other King James, King James the Sixth of Scotland, and then he became King James the First of England. He was married to Anne of Denmark, and the whole story behind that, where the witches raised the storms to, well, anyway, he got upset, and he wrote. In fact, he even wrote the book Demonology. Was very interested in the occult, and he was the one that ordered the beginning of the North Berwick witch trials, and so I had people on both sides of the equation there. So yeah, I mean, so I found all of it, and then King Solomon, he was a magician, and he's a cousin, and Mary Magdalene, and I'm related to her. I think she's a cousin, and the Blessed Virgin is a cousin, so Jesus is a relative, and so I mean, I had no idea, but you start to really realize that the soul journey is vast. And you start to realize that if we don't see this from the standpoint of spirit, then we lose a perspective that could make this whole journey so much better for us. When we become involved only in the balancing of the horizontal plane, that's where I think we get into trouble. That's why we see the rise or the continued presence of patriarchy that is so destructive to all of us. So in any event, that's pretty cool. If we can lose that aspect of self, or I should say, the focus on that aspect of self, we don't lose that aspect of self, but our attention to it. And if we start thinking in terms of the vertical plane as well, the as above, so below nature, spirit informing everything, what drives the vehicle, what is the underlying energy behind Rado? Well, it's spirit. It's spirit driving the vehicle. It's spirit driving the harmony. It's spirit driving the awareness of who we are to one another, which allows us then to engage in shared abundance, shared purpose, the awareness that someone else might need something. And we might be, able to provide that, to satisfy that need for them. Well, cool. So now I've blown everybody's, idea of what Eve was all about, haven't I? She was the stronger of the two, and that's why the serpent of knowledge came to her, because she could hear it. She could hear. We were never meant to be followers, certainly not followers in our lives. So anyhow, we'll see you tomorrow. Check out the blog. Again, the Scorpio moon is up. And also there was something on Meadowsweet. I did that, and now I'm going to do something. I think I'm going to alternate between the moon information. It also has magical working stuff on it, so check that out. And then there might be something else in there that you might find interesting besides just the moon information and the aspect information. There's other stuff there too. So I try to make it a little bit broader. I'm not an astrologer. I'm a witch, so I do it from a little different perspective. So there's that. I'm also an herbalist, though, and so I've been thinking about, and I've talked about this summer. I was going to start doing as the garden's growing, and I can take really great pictures. I was going to talk about, different herbs and everything. And so today I think I'm going to write about the nutritive types of herbs, like comfrey and oat straw and all of that. I gathered some oats. I'm going to do some oat tincture here in a bit. They're not completely finished, but the ones that were, that were milky enough, I took those and I'm going to tincture them today. Usually I just dry them, but it's nice to have some tincture on hand as well. So anyhow, I'm going to write that stuff up and talk a little bit about marshmallow and comfrey leaf and oat straw, I think. And I think there might have been one other I might talk about, just to kind of talk about the types of soothing herbs out there. You can dry them, or you can just use them fresh in teas. But different types of tea blends you can create with them, and how it's used. So look for that. That will probably go up today. I hope. That's my plan. I'm trying to alternate herbs one day, moon information, and magic the other. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Be good to yourself. Be good to one another. We'll see you tomorrow, and blessed be.